You can bring in all the diverse individuals into an organization, but if we're not ensuring that they are truly well, that we are giving them all that they need to be successful and supporting them not only inside of work, but outside of work, it really defeats the purpose.
Welcome to the Optimized Workplace. On today's episode, I welcome Ebony Travis Tichenor. Ebony's voice has resonated beyond the corporate halls, finding its echo in prestigious platforms where her insights on leadership, DEI, and authentic living have garnered widespread recognition and appreciation. Her feature, in collaboration with other leaders in Forbes, on 6 leadership resolutions to kickstart 2023, underscores her forward-thinking approach to leadership strategy. While her spotlight in CIO Views magazine, titled Promoting Accountability and Awareness Around Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, is personal for Ebony, offers a deep dive into her personal and professional commitment to DEI. Ebony, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Fran. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about you and how you got into this whole world around DEI and just really, again, the authenticity piece that you bring to it. I think that's such an interesting lens to share with our audience.
Wow. So, being and getting into DEI, I believe it's just something that has always been a part of me. As a Black Hispanic woman, raised by a single mom, Hispanic woman, dad was Black, passed away after I was born, and always living in a diverse household, going to a school where I was the only one, recognizing that things weren't what I thought they should be. And as I joined corporate America in 1997, again, feeling comfortable because I was the only one. I thought that's the way it was supposed to be until I experienced something that just didn't make me feel good. And started to recognize that I needed to speak up about it. And if it wasn't for a dear mentor and a leader who had joined the company a few years later, who really opened my eyes to the importance of community, especially the Black community, and creating something that brings people together and allows us to support one another, especially when there's not everyone like us in the room. That started my journey into DEI, where I was even part of creating one of our first employee resource groups that we, called, it was for our Black employees. And we did it early on before DEI was even a role within an organization. So, 27 years with the same company, that says a lot. So I've watched DEI evolve before, again, it ever even existed as a role in an organization.
That is so powerful, Ebony. I think you touch on so many points that can really resonate with many, many people. You don't even know the room you're in until that room has groundswell. And the fact that you're at the beginning of something so epic, so very important that has created such an ongoing crescendo right across the United States. So with that, having been someone who's been in and around this space for such a long time, you look at everything that's happening trend-wise, you look at everything that's happening from a corporate perspective, right, on, what the corporate vision is, what the missions are, what their responsibilities are from a corporate perspective. And then you also look at what's happening from a public opinion perspective around DEI. How do we begin to marry the disparate voices, right? We have disparate voices from different avenues. How do we begin to marry that in such a way that we're able to find a way forward around DEI?
That's a great question. And it's one I often struggle with when I really think about it, because, there's no perfect road. There's no perfect roadmap that we can take. A lot of it is just about the advocacy. It's about not taking our foot off the gas. It's really, truly standing up for something we believe in and wholeheartedly ensuring that the reason why we want to make sure that DEI is known and heard and said throughout the hallways, throughout the streets, throughout every conversation is because there's something behind it. There's meaning behind it. There's purpose. We need to ensure that we are creating a diverse, inclusive, and equitable culture in everything that we do. And when you really think about it, all of us are diverse in some unique way. right? It's
So
not
glad you
always
said that.
about the color
Yes.
of our skin. It
Yes.
is about what we bring to the table and what we can do for one another in a
Mhm.
really good way, you know?
I think that's so powerful that you mentioned that, because so often DEI gets settled in a race relation barrier. You look at some of the recent court cases, right? The Harvard case. You look at some of the court cases that are even happening that are affecting the federal markets as well. And they even look at the Pfizer case, right? So often. And then there was a recent case here in the Washington metro area with a school, Thomas Jefferson High School. So many of these cases people lump into being race-based, but I think you make a very incredibly powerful point that we're all diverse in different ways in the way we think, the backgrounds, the experiences that we have. I was watching a report the other day about the sandwich generation and people having to raise their children at the same time, basically help raise their parents because their parents in such a way, if it's dementia or Alzheimer's, that's my personal case, that they're no longer able to really fend for themselves. And so they need that additional support. So we're all with all those echoing voices. You have all these nuanced experiences by which is your lens of reality. And so when that presents itself, it does change the conversation and the narrative. So I'm so curious, coming from corporate and now with your own platform, how does someone like yourself, if someone is sitting and listening to this conversation and they want to be a champion of change, or they want to begin to echo louder and really provide a level of support, and they don't feel like they are coming from a diverse background, but they want to be of support to the conversation, how do they begin to get involved? How do you become a stakeholder in this or a sponsor in this, so that again, it's not just an article that you've read or a conversation you've had, but you really can be a champion of change?
Yeah, to be a champion of change, first off, I love what I do, my day job, love my day job, love what I do in corporate America. But what I think about outside of that, just personally, and supporting individuals and helping them to find their voice and their way forward, to be a champion or to be a part of the conversation in a good way, to help lead change, it really starts with yourself first. You really have to make sure that you know who you are. What is your background? What makes you passionate about wanting to be able to be a part of the change? It's educating yourself. It's engaging in conversations that start off with seeking to understand. That's so important. And I learned that from my mentor. We have to seek to understand, and we have to truly listen. Let's make sure we're listening and that we're not putting ourselves in that person's shoes, because everyone lives a different and diverse experience. So to be a part of that, it starts with just learning who you are, understanding who you are and why you want to do this. And then the other is just learning, educating yourself. What's going on out there? Seek to understand, have
Mhm.
empathy, and don't make it about you. It's not about you. It's not. And a lot of times we tend to think it's about us. It's not. you
100%.
know?
Oh my goodness. All the time, right? All the time.
Yeah.
So I love the lens you come from. It's very positive. It's very impactful. It's very positive. It's very encouraging. And from what I'm listening from you, I'm getting a sense that you really feel like we're turning a page and we're turning a corner. That makes me think, what are you excited about in this industry and what you see happening? What's coming next? And just in terms of what you're doing, but also overall in the industry.
For me, what I feel good about is I know that DEI is always going to continue to be strong because, again, we need diversity in this world. There
Mhm.
is no doubt about it. And every single one of us is diverse. I'm very passionate about well being and the importance of well being and mental health, and knowing that it is also something that is interchangeable with diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because you can bring in all the diverse individuals into an organization, but if we're not ensuring that they are truly well, that we are giving them all that they need to be successful and supporting them not only inside of work but outside of work, it really defeats the purpose. But we don't only do that for our diverse individuals, we do that for everybody. So, for me, I'm excited about more organizations, embedding well-being and mental health into their culture, weaving it in there to ensure that they're supporting their employees from the first day as part of that employee experience.
Mhm.
And, you were talking earlier on, you mentioned about the authenticity and, how I weave all of that in, and what I've learned is that if I'm not my true self, if I'm not who I know I am, which is happy and positive, I live my life out loud, then I'm not truly taking care of myself. I need to make sure that if I'm really happy, it's okay to let people know that. And I have my bad days as well. But
Yes.
I lead with the happiness of believing that diversity, equity, and inclusion is so important in this world, and that well being and mental health is just as integral. And I want to do that with a smile on my face. I want to do that with passion. I want to do it with empathy. And I want to make sure that people know that there are people here that want to support them and see them rise and do good things.
Yeah.
And so for me, honestly, I'm excited about a lot of things.
I can see that you live what you live the talk, right? You live the talk, you walk the walk, you live the talk. And that is so important. I think, you're speaking my language. I'm all about well-being. And here at the optimized workplace, that's what we're talking about, a sustainable, well environment that people live and thrive in. And I think a hot button of what you just raised is that so often people come at life, come at work, come at engagement through a scarcity mentality. They're so afraid of what they don't know. And when it comes to wellness and well-being, one size doesn't fit all, just like you just said. So there has to be a diverse way in which you're supporting your team or even supporting your body, right? The nutrients that you take in, the things that you eat. There needs to be variety. You go back to the salad plate. The salad needs to have color. If the salad is all one color, it is not nutritious, right? That's the basics, right? So it's the same thing with your team. It needs
Yeah.
to be diverse. I love the fact that you commingle that in, and that's a big piece for us as well. We talk a lot about that at Well Team
Mhm.
Culture. If you are enjoying this segment or any of the segments that you've heard thus far on the Optimized Workplace, please be sure to join us here below and just follow us on the Optimized Workplace. We really want to not only drive our viewers and listeners, but we also want to share it. So if there's others that like us, please here, join and listen, subscribe on a regular basis, but also share the podcast. We'd love to have you back. When you're working with clients, you're working with organizations, what do you actually see as a prevailing challenge around that, around the reluctance of having more of a widespread, diverse workforce or even thought process? I think back to, like, for instance, the Dev case. Part of the problem was were not enough diverse thinkers or diverse beings at the board table before that recording or that video was released. If it had been, then maybe there would have been more conversation around this is not the right video to release. So I'm so curious, in your line of work, what are you seeing as you enter into the halls, as you said, of corporate, and you're working with clients? What's the biggest challenge sometimes that's inhibiting them being able to approach things from a more diverse perspective?
Sometimes I think, and it's really about, like, I have conversations with other individuals from other organizations, right? And we have these conversations and they have a question and seeking advice. And what I find a lot of times is it's some of us, just scared. We're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that. Or we're not seeking the right input to ensure that the right lens and the right people are in the room, as you said, to help, suggest or make recommendations before something goes out. So I think a lot of that is getting people to get comfortable, to get, be uncomfortable, to get comfortable in asking all the right questions and working with the right people, making sure your team has those right folks in the room. And again, diversity of thought, diversity of it doesn't matter your age, how you identify, how you look, how you think, how you act. You need all of that, right? So just like making a cake, you need all the different ingredients in order to get that final output, that final cake. And what I find is a lot of us just aren't having the right people in the room to have the conversations, right? Again, I love working for a company where there's all the right decision makers doing just that. But what you find in some companies is that there's not always the right people that are there being able to advise and suggest the right things before they take that next step. And some are, again, afraid to, right? Because we're trying to battle this external environment that's happening. And, sometimes I think we just need to pause, and we can't fight every battle. We don't need to try to solve for everything. Sometimes quiet is good, right? Sometimes being quiet is good. Just being supportive is enough. So I don't know, for me, I think a lot of times the conversations I have is just people aren't talking to the right people. And we just need to make sure we're not trying to invite the whole world into the conversation, but just the right enough diverse perspective to ensure we're looking at it through the right lens.
Yeah.
Does that
I
make
was talking
sense?
to a counsel, an attorney friend of mine the other day, and so much of what you're saying is really resonating because she made the point that, I asked her, how are you advising companies around this now? She says, well, when you get a batch of resumes and they're all from the same zip code or the same school, then you have to, as a leader, sit back and ask yourself, did we advertise this potential role anywhere else? Did we look outside the zip code? Did we talk to any other groups or universities or colleges? Did we go to any other outreach events? I mean, how is it that we have all the applicants from this one zip code or this one area or this one school? And I think you're absolutely right. It's a failure to invite other conversations. And it made me think about a book that I read not too long ago about Steve Jobs and the way he approached work. And he had the mindset that it's so important to look outside your industry. And before he invented the iPad, he took calligraphy classes. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but he did. He took calligraphy classes. And the way in which he learned to do calligraphy was really the methodology and the framework behind how the iPad became so intuitive with the way you used it on the screen. And it makes the most sense. He was able to bring a diverse perspective. And look what Apple's been able to do as a result of that. So we need to think of it that way. So in our last few minutes together, I would love to hear if you're not watching the Optimized Workplace, again, you can catch us on YouTube, but you can also catch us on your favorite place to watch, to listen to the Optimized Workplace. But if you're not watching right now, you would see that my guest is striking, but she's also quite fit. So I have to ask this question, and I'm asking everyone in 2024, what are you doing, Ebony, to make well-being a priority in your life? It's obviously that you do, but anything to share as a tidbit or a tip with our audience?
Yeah. And thank you for asking. I take great pride in making sure I support my well-being. It is something that I have a regimen. And it's something I wake up every morning excited to go hit the running pavement or, to go hit the jogging trail and start to jog 3 to 5 miles every other day. And recently I elevated and started putting on a weighted vest. And so I put on a weighted vest. I do 20 push-ups in between every half mile, mile. And I'm a caregiver. I've been caring for my mom for 16 years who lives with me. So in order to ensure I'm giving her all that she needs, I have to ensure I'm taking care of myself. Because I know when she goes and walks daily, she sees that that's what I'm doing. And she's going to do that because she's like, as she says it, Mija, if you can do it, I can do it too. And so she will go and walk her 2 to 3 miles. And I couldn't be more proud as someone who has kidney disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease. I mean, we're battling some things, but my mama doesn't give up. And I won't either. Yeah. So I make sure I work out 7 days a week, not heavy every day, but 7 days a week. I am adamant about that, friend.
Oh, that's beautiful, Ebony. I love that. Thank you so much. That is so fabulous to share, but it's also very encouraging and very inspiring. I love the fact that you're a caregiver. I can relate to that completely. I have an aging parent as well, but also the fact that you're setting yourself as an example to your mom. And so continue to carry that forward and support her as well. I know that we only had a few minutes today. I am so looking forward to having you back. From all that you've shared and all that I know about you, I'm sure there'll be a book or some sort of secret coming down the pike. So when you do have that, I'm loving to hear part 2 of your journey, but it's been such a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Absolutely. And thank you all for joining us for the Optimized Workplace. Again, I'm your host, Fran Dean Bishop. You can listen to us on your favorite place to listen to your podcast and also find us on YouTube. Remember, we're all about supporting well-being in the workplace, in your home place, in your virtual place, wherever you work, wherever you live. It's all about supporting your well-being. So again, take care of yourself. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.